Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Being consistent. Okay, so once again, I don't really have any plans for the weekend or anything to do, and it's already Friday, and I try to upload on Friday or Saturday. So I need to film a video. So this is part 2 of my book recommendations, where you don't really have to watch the first video, but it's a different set of books. Yeah, and it explains how I started reading and stuff like that. So if you want to watch part 1, you can. I'll put it somewhere where you can go watch that. But yeah, part 2 to book recommendations. I have 4 new books that I plan to recommend this time around. I'll try not to make it too long. I know last time the video was like almost 30 minutes and it was only 4 books. So we're gonna try again, try to be better, but let's get started. So first up we have The Inheritance Games. I actually, in one of the videos I was filming, I was reading this book and I actually read it in one day, but I'll read a little inside so you can get a taste and then say my little part. Avery Grams has a plan for a better future, survive high school, win a scholarship, and get out. But her luck changes in an instant when billionaire Tobias Hawthorne dies and leaves her virtually his entire fortune. The only catch, Avery must move into his sprawling mansion full of secret passages, riddles, and codes. Unfortunately for Avery, Hawthorne House is occupied by the family that Tobias Hawthorne just disinherited. This includes the 4 Hawthorne grandsons, dangerous magnetic boys who grew up with every expectation that one day they would inherit billions. Heir apparent Grayson Hawthorne is convinced that Avery must be a con woman, and he's determined to take her down. But his brother Jameson views her as their grandfather's last hurrah, a twisted riddle, a puzzle to be solved. Caught in a world of wealth and privilege with danger around every turn, Avery will have to play the game herself just to survive in this twisted, thrilling new mystery from beloved author Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So, as you heard, there are boys. And there's definitely a love triangle that goes on. I'm not going to say which team I'm on because I don't want to persuade anyone to follow one way, but there's definitely one grandson I prefer Avery with over the other. But if you get this book, you'll read more about that. This kind of reminded me of Knives Out. I don't know if y'all have seen that, but Knives Out is a little movie, or the game Clue, kind of like a mystery, solve the mystery. But Avery is a regular old girl. One day she gets called to the office from school. Her sister is in there, and her sister actually share the same dad. They have different moms, and that's when Grayson is in the office because he works with law and all that, and basically tells her, like, we've been sending you all this paperwork, all these letters, we need you to read the will. And her sister thought it was a scam, so she was throwing all the stuff away. Their lives get turned upside down. They have to go to the Hawthorne mansion to read the will, and as the will is being read, they leave money to, like, Tobias had like a bodyguard. He left the good money to the bodyguard, to some of the workers in the mansion, and then it gets to, he has 2 daughters. He leaves them some money, but it's not a lot, and then he leaves some for the 4 grandsons, which one daughter has 4 boys. They all have different fathers, and then the other daughter, she has no kids, but she is married to a guy who has a daughter. But the 4 grandsons, they get money, but it's not a lot. And as Avery's sitting there listening to the will being read, she's like doing the math of how much money is being given to everyone else and how much money is left. And literally the rest of the money he has, it's left to her, The house is left to her, but there's like a stipulation. She has to stay in the house for a year. I believe it's been a little minute since I read this, but I believe she has to stay in the house for a year before she can inherit everything. And with her staying in the house, the family is also staying in the house, and they obviously hate her. She inherited everything they ever wanted, so it's like she has to deal with them to inherit the money. She also ends up getting a bodyguard, Tobias, the one who passed away. She gets his bodyguard, but you know, someone's trying to kill her, right? And they don't know who, and it's like everything is a big mystery. No one even knows where Avery came from, how she even knows Tobias, or like what she has to do with any of this. So it's a whole little mystery of how is Avery connected, which it's a really, really good way on how she's connected. Like, well, it's like random but good. And then there's like a missing person, but there's a connection going on. I don't want to give away too much because, I mean, it's mentioned in the beginning, but at the end of the book is when it gets juicy. It's when you get everything. And it's a whole game. It's a big game because the grandfather, Tobias, he liked to play games. And essentially, to an extent, the game is kind of solved, but then it's like another game is thrown at them towards the end of the book. And the good thing about this is there is a second book coming out, I believe in September. So it will continue, and I think the second one might be the last one in this series. But yes, I highly recommend this. This is just, yes. I mean, like, it's so random. Like, sis inherits, like, what is it, $46.2 billion in a whole mansion. Out on a whim, but it's really good. A lot of mystery, the solving puzzles and everything. Like I said, if you've seen Knives Out, kind of in that genre, or Clue, this is good. The Inheritance Games. Another one, I actually just finished this last week, but the Gilded ones. This one was really good. Shout out to my mom because she bought this one for me. But the concept, everything, it was chef's kiss. We love to see it. So I'm gonna read it, so I'll get a little taste and then give you my take. 16-year-old Dika lives in fear and anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she becomes a member of her village. Already different from everyone else because of her unnatural intuition, Dika prays for red blood so she can finally feel like she belongs. But on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold, the color of impurity, and Dika knows she will face consequence worse than death. Then a mysterious woman comes to her with a choice: stay in the village and submit to her fate, or leave to fight for the emperor and an army of girls just like her. They are called Alakai, near immortals with rare gifts, and they are the only ones who can stop the emperor's greatest threat. Knowing the dangers that lie ahead, yet yearning for acceptance, Dika decides to leave the only life she's ever known. But as she journeys to the capital to train for the biggest battle of her life, she discovers the great walled city holds many surprises. Nothing and no one are quite what they seem to be, not even Dika herself. In this bold and immersive fantasy, a young heroine fights to save a world that she would dare to tame her and discovers that she is her own fiercest weapon. That should get you to buy the book. But now I'm going to tell you why you should buy the book. This, amazing. Okay, so as you heard, to be in the village, you have to have red blood. And they do this when girls turn 16. And it's like they have like a priest of their village that does this cutting ritual for the girls. They go in, they get cut, they come out and wherever, reveal where they were cut to show the blood. And there are certain girls where their blood runs gold, and if it's gold, it's deemed impure, which means they can't stay in the village. they usually get taken away by these things called death streakers or death strikers, whichever way. And it just so happens that Dika's blood runs gold. But now this has to do also with her heritage. So you're going to learn about this early on in the book, so it's not spoiling anything. But Dika's dad is from the village that she's trying to stay in. Her mom actually isn't. Like, her mom found the dad, they stumbled upon each other, and he pursued a relationship with her against his family's will. But you know what people do for love. So Dika knows about her father's past, not so much about her mother's past. And there's this thing where you can't let your daughter get cut while she's younger, or else you have to pay to send them to like this health facility or whatever to take care of them, to make them pure again, because everything is about being pure in this book, you know, pure and impure. And only really the wealthy of the wealthy have this, and it's also separated within regions. Dika's mom is actually from the southern region, which they're usually, you know, dark skin, curly hair. And her father, I believe, was northerner. And they're typically like blonde hair, blue eyes, like that. So a lot of people would always stare at Dika because she doesn't look like them, but she has like her father's facial features, but nothing else. And she would always kind of get shamed. So by the time she turned 16 and, you know, they have the ritual, she was hoping that she would finally be accepted by everyone. Come to find out, she is not accepted. And the day of her ritual, the death strikers come, and by some whatever type of force, Dika gets them to leave. So the people find that suspicious. Come to find out, Dika bleeds gold, and her father disowns her. The one friend she had in the village disowned her. The boy that she liked disowned her. And this woman comes, and it's like, you want to come with me and go fight for the emperor where there's more girls just like you? Or do you want to stay here and be subject to the death mandate? Which I don't want to explain the death mandate because it might give a little bit away. So Dika chooses the lesser of two options, and she goes with this lady. And there's like essentially a whole army of Alakai who bleed gold. They're like immortal. They're the baddest of the bad. They've been disowned from, most of them have been like disowned from their family. Some of them have not, and some of them kind of just left of free will. And the whole goal, like, they've been told if they go fight for the emperor's army that they stay for like 20 years and then they're deemed pure. So that's like, everyone is like, oh yeah, I'll do that, because they want to be pure again so they can be accepted by their family and their villages. And there's also a part in here where the Alakai, for sure, women like Dika, are paired with Yurunis, I believe that's how you say it, which are the male guys, but they don't have like anything special, but they work with them in a sense. And the guy she gets paired up with, I'll leave that be. That should say enough. A little bit going on, but there's a whole lot of deception in this book. I mean, what you see isn't what you see. You definitely have to pay attention to details in this book, because at the end things start making sense, and what people do, like the reason behind it, it all makes sense. And you'll think back to the previous parts and you're like, oh my god, light bulb. And then Dika herself isn't even what she seems. Dika has something special about her, and she learns about her mom, and the end of it, oh my gosh. So the way I see it, I feel like If this is the only book in the series, I will be okay because it's not too much of a cliffhanger at the end. But I wouldn't mind a second book. That's totally okay with me. But, oh, and I read this in 2 days. But it was only 4 hours. I did 2 hours each day. But I highly recommend this book. It's good. A little bit of romance, kick action, deception, demons and gods. Yes. So the next book I'm gonna recommend is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It's kind of like mystery murder. If you like listening to like mystery murder podcasts or something, this is a good book. I mean, I don't, but I really like this book. So I'm gonna read a little bit and then give you my take. Okay, this is the story of an investigation turned obsession. Pretty and popular high school senior Addie Bell was murdered by her boyfriend Sal Sahin, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about, and 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project, at first just to cast doubt on the original investigation. But soon she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sal innocent, and the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, and now her life might be in danger. So I actually got this book because I saw it a lot on Book Talk. I've mentioned that in my previous book recommendation videos, some of the books I see on Book Talk. But this was one, so I decided to give it a shot. Like I said, I don't really do murder mystery podcasts, but this is good. So, like it says, this case happened 5 years ago. Pip is opening it back up again for her senior project because she believes Sal could be innocent. And as she's like digging around, she ends up interviewing Sal's brother. It starts off rocky at first because a lot of people in the town talk down on Sal's family and they kind of just hide out in their house. So Sal's brother is a little skeptical at first dealing with Pip, but then once he realizes Pip's intentions are good, he goes along with it. And as Pip is doing her research, she starts to find things like aren't adding up. The police didn't really do their job. And she's kind of finding all these puzzle pieces. And how Addie had a double life that many people didn't know about. She reaches out to some of Addie's friends from high school. And she has to do a little bit of scamming to get the truth out of some people because they obviously don't want to tell the truth. Sal's brother ends up starting to work with Pip in solving it because at one point Pip does become a little obsessed with finding out the truth, like finding out what really happened, because at one point she believes Sal was in fact framed. So it's this whole journey of who did it, why weren't these things figured out in the beginning, like who missed what. And there's actually people that Pip knows like personally that are super close with her that just, it didn't turn out good. But this is definitely, it draws you in. I did read this in 2 days. I'll put that out there. I read this in 2 days, but it draws you in. It's really what is the word I want to use? I can't think of the word I want to use. But it kept me hooked like the whole time. I really enjoyed this book. I highly recommend if you like mysteries, not just murder mysteries, but mysteries in general, like you kind of like solving things, figuring things out. This is definitely the book for you. And the good thing about this is there's actually a second book, which brings me to my last book. Wow, this is kind of fast this time around. But my last book is Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So it is gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler for the first book when I read about it. So I just want to warn you now, if you do plan on reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, then don't listen to everything I'm about to say for Good Girl Bad Blood, because it will have spoilers. I'm going to say it again. It is going to have spoilers for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now, I'm going to read Good Girl Bad Blood. Now that I've already warned, this is spoilers. Okay. Pip is not a detective anymore. With the help of Ravi Singh, she released a true crime podcast about the murder case they solved together last year. Though the podcast went viral, Pip insists that her sleuthing days are behind her. But when someone she knows goes missing and the police won't do anything, Pip has no choice but to investigate. Jamie Reynolds disappeared on the very same night the town hosted a memorial for the 6-year anniversary of the deaths of Andy Bell and Sal Sahin. It has to be more than a coincidence. To track down Jamie, Pip follows a trail of clues, uncovering more of her own town's dark secrets along the way, and this time everyone is listening. But will she find him before it's too late? Once again, the police did not do their job. But we know this already. So, as you heard, if you're still listening at this point, they do solve the case from the first book, and there was some things, I don't want to give away too much now, but there were some things that happened in the first book that really made Pip kind of decide she didn't want to be, do the detective thing anymore. That was behind her because she didn't want to put, people she cared about in that position again. But when her friend Connor comes to her about his older brother, Jamie, she's conflicted. She tells him no, but then says, I'm going to go to the police and, pull some strings, because obviously she is in the ranks now. She just solved murder in the first book. So she does go to the police, and they tell her it's not a priority case. They're too busy doing other things. So Pip takes it upon herself to do this again. So Pip goes around getting all the evidence she can. She interviews Connor, the mom, the dad, people that saw Connor that night, and she tries to piece things together. But there's actually a deeper reason why Jamie went missing that night. And I'm trying not to give too much away. There is a mystery person, let's say, in the book. And I'm trying not to give too much away to describe this book. Jamie is involved with someone that no one seems to know. And it's like they're trying to find the mystery person. But then they're trying to find out where Jamie was and map a timeline of the events where Jamie went missing. Some people are giving false information. Some people are not giving information. Some people are just over it. And, at one point, people think that Pip and Connor are working together to just fake this, because as it says, Pip does make a podcast. She makes podcasts of what happened in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, the first book, and then following some of the trials relating to the first book. And when she takes on Jamie's case, it becomes season 2, and some person wrote an article saying it was a scam, Jamie's not really missing, they're just doing this for show, and people start to believe that Jamie's not actually missing. So then there's a little bit of doubt in here, that kind of puts them at a stopping point, but Pip gets through it. Ravi, who's also her boyfriend now, helps her to solve this case. And you know, there's more to the case than it leads on. Like, there's some people coming in here out of nowhere that want revenge, and there's like a past kind of murder mystery that gets brought into Pip's case, and it's really good. The ending, I was kind of sad because something happens at the end. Not gonna say what, but something happens at the end, and it's kind of sad, and Pip is all over the place kind of at the end. It took a toll on her, let's say. But the good part about it is there's another book. This series is not over. There's a third and final book coming out in October, I believe. I forgot the name of it, but there will be a third book coming out. It's going to be the last one in the series, coming out in October. So those are all of my books that I have to recommend. Also, I forgot to say, or maybe I did, but I read this in 2 days, and then shout out to my mom because she bought me this book too. But I said pricings last time, so this was $17.99, and my mom got this one from Barnes and Nobles, and the Gilded one is $18.99. She also bought this from Barnes and Nobles. So this was $10.99, but I believe I only paid like $5 or $7 for this. I ordered this off of Amazon, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And then the Inheritance Games, the regular price, where is it? $17.99, but I didn't pay that much. I think I paid like $14 for this, but I ordered it off of Amazon. Like I said in the last book recommendation videos, sometimes I get the books from Amazon and sometimes I get them from Barnes and Nobles, but they're actually cheaper if you get them on Amazon. But you know, whatever your preference is. But I'm gonna just show the books one more time around to close out this video. But the Inheritance Games, we had first the Gilded ones, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and then the sequel, Good Girl, Bad Blood. And those are my 4 recommendations for this video. I'll have 4 more the next time around whenever that comes. But we've reached the end of this video. I think it's still like the same amount of time as the last one. I just talk too much when it comes to book. I try not to make it too long. But hey, what can I do? But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button down below. Peace and blessings, my loves.